I do think he meant that I would have to redo it. And I said, oh, you know me, I'm not. And as this was going, it was proceeding on by itself on the screen without me feeling it whatsoever.
Mm.
And it was just continuing on. I could see the entire life just going in a complete opposite direction. I had no association whatsoever. And I was talking to Jesus and I said, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry about it. So when I saw the apartments the same way, just everything, the threshold, everything was the same, a deja vu. And I was like, oh, it's like Jesus right here telling me, don't do this. And I was like, I got to go home. I literally said, I got to leave. And I went home.
Hi, everyone. I am back. Thank you for being here. My name is Sharon Kumara, and I'm so happy to be able to bring such amazing content and such amazing people to my audience. Again, thank you for being here today. I'm excited because I'm talking with Angela Comfort again. Hi, Angela.
Hi.
Thanks for being here again and chatting with me.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, of course. Angela has shared an amazing experience previously when we talked about her experience with pre-birth. She remembered a past life, another lifetime where she died and was with Jesus, and he was helping her to uh, die well, I guess you could say, and and pick and choose her next lifetime, which is this lifetime, correct?
Yes. Yeah, he was preparing me to accept this lifetime because I really didn't want it. I didn't want to live it. When he was showing me this life on a screen, I had no idea it was even me. And that's when I had to judge it. He said, what do you think of that life? And I told him how I thought of it. I literally had no idea it was even me. And when he said, that's you, I was just floored. Um, but that's when he had said, you'll like the mother. And so he flew me to Earth and all that. So,
Nice. Yeah, I'll put the link in the
yeah.
details for people who haven't seen that amazing story. Totally. So it's interesting that you say that you didn't even realize it was you on the screen because
No.
you this is who you identify with, right? The person watching the screen,
Yes.
not the person on the screen.
Right. Right. And so I remember watching it and at first I was totally disassociated with it, had nothing to do with it at all. And as I'm watching, I'm feeling more and I'm starting to judge because she kept returning to a guy and I was just like, "What? Okay, I get why you like him and stuff, but you need to move on, you need to change, like what are you doing?" And I was trying to speak to her telepathically, I guess, while watching, but then my emotions started getting more and more involved. And then I started feeling like it was me, like kind of falling asleep in a dream. You lose your awareness. And I was feeling like I was the one being cheated on and everything. And then when they pulled me, because I was crying, they pulled me away and I was like, oh, thank God I'm here. Like I thought that was me for a second. Ugh. And everybody was quiet and just like it was you, but they didn't say anything until Jesus asked me to judge it. And I was kind of I felt bad for the girl, but I knew it wasn't me. So I was fine
Right.
until when Jesus said that's you. I was like, oh my God. I just didn't even want to do it. I literally thought that I was going to be staying there with him. And at some point while I was discussing this with Jesus, a man did pass us. Like he went in front of me and went into a different dimension where there was grass. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. Why can't I do that? I mean, I'm here now. Let me do that. I don't want to go back to Earth. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Again, I'll put the link in the details. It's interesting that you said that. I find it really cool that you said that you weren't attached to that life. But as you started coming into the emotion of it, right?
Yeah.
Getting closer maybe to her, then
Yep.
you started feeling the emotion and started feeling more like her, perhaps. Is that
Yeah.
getting
Yes.
pulled into it? And
Yep.
you know, uh, a lot of in my own near-death experience, I wasn't attached to the body. I wasn't attached. I was at a place where I wasn't attached at all to who I thought, saw myself in the body. I knew that was just a body and that
Yep.
this was me, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the
Mm-hmm.
higher frame of reference. And a lot of people who've had near-death experiences, even though this was a spiritual transformative experience, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That you weren't attached to that body, watching it from a higher place,
Right.
that
Well,
personality. Hmm.
when I was watching it, it was like a screen he showed me, and he asked me to judge it. And so I was like, okay, what do I need to do this for Jesus? No problem.
Hmm.
And as I'm watching it, I'm literally watching it on a screen away from me. But as I'm watching it more and more, it's like I'm becoming the eyes are like mine. And
Okay. Yeah.
so it's like I got absorbed into it, especially during the emotion, especially when I found out that he cheated. It was like I was brought in because that had just happened to me in my life, in my
Okay.
previous life. And so the emotion came up and everything, and it felt more and more like it was me after a while. But that's when they separated me, and I was like, oh good, oh, it wasn't me after all. Geez, what was that?
Yeah.
And then I found out it was me, and I was devastated. I
Yeah.
didn't want to. I'm like, how could that be me? That has nothing to do. What do you mean? Like, this life is not my life I just lived, so how could that be me? It was my future self.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah, we had a little conversation before we turned the recorder on about can we go back from the higher perspective and change a past life, a past
yeah.
life, that experience, right?
Hmm.
And did you have some kind of a vision or some kind of information or inspiration about shelves that have to
Yeah,
do with that?
well, where I work, there are shelves,
Okay.
and I have had them in my like deja vus or memory somehow. When I saw the shelves, they looked very familiar. So it must have been a part of my pre-birth, but I didn't remember it until I saw them, and I'm like, these look so familiar. It's like I'm supposed to be here. Um, but I I had often wondered, maybe did I live this life more than once or not? I wasn't sure because in my pre-birth, Jesus had warned me when I was hanging outside of the apartments. Well, he said, I need to show you something. And that's when he showed me the vision of me being outside with my friend outside the apartments. And so when that actually happened, I was like, wait, I've seen this before. It was like a deja vu came right back. And I had remembered what Jesus said, if you continue down this path, you're going to have to redo it. And I think he meant redo the life. He's pretty vague, but you know what he's talking about until when you're analyzing it, you're like, did he mean it like this? You kind of overthink things sometimes, but um, so I'm saying I think that I don't know if it meant that I would have to redo the life like this one or have to come back again as a different person and redo things differently. I'm not sure what it meant, but I do know that as soon as I remembered it, he gave me that warning on purpose because he knew I would remember, and that would deter me from doing what I had been doing, which was just hanging out with, like, not on my path, just doing things however which way I wanted, not doing right. So, uh-oh, I think I lost
That's
you.
me.
Oh,
That's
there you
me.
go. Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay.
had my mute button on. Yeah, I really like that because, and I may have mentioned this in the last video, but it's just so confirming to me with the work I do that he taught me. about clearing things that we haven't healed or haven't taken care of in other lifetimes because we do repeat them. We
Yes,
do them over in another body,
see
another
that.
circumstance, even though, because he says in the Way of Mastery that we have one life but many bodies, right? And
Mhm,
so, and we have all these bodies to experience everything that we choose to experience.
mhm.
And so that maybe could be what he meant. Who knows?
Yeah. I do think he meant that I would have to redo it. And I said, "Oh, you know me, I'm not." And as this was going, it was proceeding on by itself on the screen without me feeling it whatsoever.
Mm,
And it was just continuing on. I could see the entire life just going in a complete opposite direction. I had no association whatsoever. And I was talking to Jesus and I said, I'm not going to do that. Don't worry about it. So when I saw the apartments the same way, just everything, the threshold, everything was the same, a deja vu. And I was like, oh, it's like Jesus right here telling me, don't do this. And I was like, I got to go home. I literally said, I got to leave. And I went home and I didn't go back. So, because I'm not going to do this again. So,
right. Good thing. Good thing,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have another amazing story, lots of amazing stories to share since we talked. And I'd love to hear about the someone you met recently that shares some pretty
Yes.
cool synchronicities or
Yes.
parallel, yeah,
Yes.
experiences.
So, I was watching a near death experiencer, and she was talking, and things seemed very familiar with her, like as if somewhat like she's a sister or some kind of vibration that is very similar. And so I was like, I gotta contact her, and I did. And she said, like, she waited a few days before she accepted my friend request because she said the energy when you approached me was so different and so strong. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if you were a scammer because it was just so much. And she's like, I'm glad I accepted your request. But we have found that we have a lot of commonalities. She's a Leo and I'm an Aries. And so we're both fire signs. Hers is August 18th and mine's April 9th. So that was just kind of different for the dates. Um, but what's very interesting is we have a lot of similarities in names of our family members or friends. And for instance, my son, he was born October 7th on at 7:07 p.m. Her daughter, Lorelai, was born October 7th in room number 7. And Lorelai is the name of my best friend. But we just have a lot of similarities and parallels. And right now, like if I get into an argument with my boyfriend, she gets into an argument either that night or the next day with her boyfriend. And it's just very similar. Like I'll be like, "Were you feeling off today?" And she said yes. Very similar things going on in our lives. And we both lost our fathers at an early age. I lost mine at the age of 22, but hers, she lost hers a lot younger. But we just had a lot of similarities going on.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, that's crazy. The idea, lots of ideas come up with that, right?
mhm,
One
mhm.
is a split soul, perhaps,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we felt like we were so close. She felt like me. Like we just feel like very, very similar. I was even considering the fact like maybe I die and then she's my future life. I don't know. And we just don't know, but it seems like whatever I do, she ends up with. So I'm like, oh gosh. So it makes me a little more in check of how I behave because I'm serious. I'm like, I don't want her to go through anything bad. So it has been actually helping my relationship with Chris because
Mhm.
I want things going well for her relationship too.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. And
Hmm.
she, I would imagine, has the same. ideas about your life too
Oh yes,
and
yes.
her
Oh, and
progress.
another thing I wanted to say, sorry. She was showing me pictures of her friends, and I'm like, I've had dreams of your friends, like literal dreams. There was one instance where she showed me a picture of her on a four-wheeler with her friend right behind her, and I had that dream, and it's so weird. Like, but I felt like in the dream I was her with her hair color and stuff. And she said she's always wanted to be blonde, and I've always wanted to be brunette, and so we're switched. It's so weird.
Oh, that makes me think of a lot of what I call out of body experiences or reality shifts that I have a lot that where I'm another person and I have dreams too about being another person and we learn more and more that we're multidimensional anyway.
Uh-huh.
But to actually meet someone that is perhaps from the
Yes.
same soul, not only your soul group, but perhaps
Yeah.
like a soul split, a personality from the same soul is pretty incredible.
And we really do feel like that. And I I don't understand it at all, because in my pre-birth there was nothing about me splitting off or anything like that, so I don't know. But I just know from my experience with her, and she said she had a dream once where she was a blonde little girl and she was doing nothing that she would ever do, like in the dream. And I'm like, well, honestly, it kind of sounds like things I would have done. I don't know. But so it's just interesting. She had a dream about me a long time ago, but mine was more recent with her on the four-wheeler, but with her friends. So it's like as if I was living her life in my dream. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it,
Mm,
but very, very interesting.
hmm. It sure is. Yeah, that'll get me thinking for sure. But
Yeah.
what is going on there?
Yeah.
And
And
that's
I,
how my
I
mind works all the time anyway. But go ahead.
I should have written down all the parallels because
Yeah.
there's so much. We were just, when we first started talking, it was like we were inseparable. We just needed to talk to each other, and now we're like trying to live our own lives and take care of things. We still get along just fine. Um, I've done a little bit of research on soul splits. There was this lady who was talking. She said she had an eye injury for a long time and she couldn't figure it out. And it turns out in a previous life, she was a race car driver and got into a wreck and injured that eye. And so now in this life, she's having trouble with it. I forget what channel it was on that I saw, but that's what got me thinking of soul splits too.
Well, that
With,
would be a past life with trauma
yeah,
that wasn't healed, brought forward, right? Or
yeah,
brought
mhm,
into another lifetime.
yeah. And that has nothing to do with me, but I'm just saying, like, I was doing research on it. That's why I'm kind of open minded
Okay,
to the fact that
gotcha.
it might be that when I pass away, I become her in some point or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know how we're so connected. It's just strange.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, so I mean we have our soul split all over the place, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're multifaceted.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
there was,
Interesting.
there was a, sorry, another thing I wanted to talk about that is unrelated to this.
Okay,
I'm
sure, go ahead. Go for it.
gonna get a drink
I'm
here.
still thinking about that. It's like, okay, let me try to understand it, put my to wrap my head around
I'm
this.
sorry.
That's okay. That's
Um,
how I am. All right, let me think about that for a little while. Go ahead.
so one time I was sleeping, and this is while I was living at the apartments. I have a house now, but I was in the middle of sleeping, and Chris, my boyfriend, was behind me, and I turned and I saw um a very lit up being that was he looked like a Chinese guy, like Buddha would look. And I don't do research on Buddha just because I just don't. But so I wasn't sure what I was looking at, but he had a belly, he had a red vest, and he was lit up I'm like LED lights, his whole body. It was really weird, nothing I've ever seen before. He had a gold bowl in his right hand and a paintbrush in his left hand. And he was standing, like he had his elbow like this, and he was painting Chris while Chris was sleeping, but he was
Wow.
painting around his chest area. And I literally said, "What the?" And he just disappeared. He kept painting and disappeared. And I was like, "No, come back." Like, I don't know what you were. But he was orange. He had a red vest, no shirt on other than the vest, and the gold pan, and was painting. And so I looked up like what Buddha looked like, and I'm like, no, that's not what it is. But then I found the happy Buddha looked like that. So I was like, wow. And I was like, I wonder if you're getting good luck or what that means. I don't know what it meant, but
Did you tell your boyfriend?
oh yeah, I told him.
What
He
did
thought,
he?
he was like, what? Because he's not really into this stuff. Like he doesn't understand, but he knows what I see is real. Like I've never seen anything like that except for when that lady um that one night, I think I told you already, there was a screen in front of me in the middle of my sleep, and I literally tried to get away from it, and it followed me, and
Mm,
I saw the lady talking. So like that looked like LED lights too. But every other apparition I've ever seen has been transparent or faded or just black or a little white thing or something. Not like that. That was full on detail, amazing.
wow. So he didn't know, it sounds like he didn't know that you could see him at first,
No,
maybe.
no,
Okay.
he didn't know. He didn't even look at me. He didn't look at
Okay.
me once. He didn't turn his head either. He was facing the wall. So even though he was facing the pan, and then he was painting, it was like he was very awkward because he wasn't facing Chris. He wasn't even looking at Chris. He was just painting, facing forward. So I didn't understand, and I literally said, "What the?" And then he faded away, and I was like, "No, like, what? Will you come back? What are you?"
Come,
You know?
come back, Happy Buddha, come back.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
that's
still
cool.
don't know what it meant really, but I just
That's really cool. He was
yeah,
painting gold paint. Gold, would you say
yeah,
it was gold? Okay.
yeah. He had a gold pan, and there was a paintbrush that had gold on it. He never dipped it or anything. He was just painting Chris right around his heart area.
Heart area. That, oh my gosh, you know what? When I was in deep meditation one time, I I get emotional talking about this, but I saw in my mind's eye my heart center. I saw it just as clear as day. And it was all gold. It was this cloud of gold flakes.
Yes,
It was
it was
gold.
gold flakes. Yes, yes. That's interesting. Oh my God. That's very interesting because he was only by his heart. He wasn't by anything else. And I only saw him do it. He was going very nice and slow. I know you can't see me on camera or anything, but
Yeah, we can
yeah,
see
but
you.
it was just like that. I wonder if that is like gold around the heart. I don't
Around the
know.
heart center, I guess people say, he's got a heart of gold.
Yeah, that could be.
So he was helping with his heart center.
Yeah.
Did he
And I
feel it? Did he notice feeling any different afterwards?
nope, he couldn't tell a difference. He didn't know it happened. Um, the only thing that made him start to kind of believe is when I Googled it and I looked up Happy Buddha. I'm like, that's the colors, that's the same look. Oh my gosh, like because I didn't know.
Yeah,
So to me, it was cool.
yeah.
So he was less skeptical, but he also knows like because of so I've been able to channel before, and sometimes I can control it, and sometimes it just comes, and I can just get a reading. And that happened to my split when we first started talking too. I was just reading her. I obviously don't know her, and I was reading everything, and she's like, "How do you know this?" I'm like, "I don't know," because I can it's like clairvoyance sometimes, or I get a bit of all of the senses, but unfortunately for me, I can't necessarily control when I get it. Sometimes it just opens up and I can just do my reading or whatever, and sometimes I can't. So, but
Okay. Yeah.
he knows some things that I say or do, or I've made predictions before about
Mhm.
people getting divorces and things like that, and he basically knows if I make a prediction, it's basically coming to pass. So,
I had a vision this morning that speaking of gold, and it was crazy. And I'm like, I don't, why am I, why was I shown this? What the heck was this? Speaking of lives and paranormal stuff, I guess.
mhm.
Um, it was, in the hypnagogic state, and when you're coming awake, and sometimes you're seeing things where I realize is we're coming back from a journey we've made,
Oh,
before the portal has closed. And so I get these a lot. And especially when I listen to binaural beats before I go to sleep, which is pretty much most of the time. But uh, I was in a room and there with some military, look like military people, men, small amount of us, green, dress green, military, green, like I hadn't seen before. And I
mhm.
see this one man who's wearing a necklace and it just gold, all gold. And it stood out. That was what I first saw. And it's around his neck, and it's a symbol on the necklace, which is all gold. Which at first I thought it was an upside down cross, but it was like a sword
Okay.
hanging with the top and the bottom, and underneath was two anchors, which look like a bowl. Okay,
Mhm.
and then there was something in the middle, which I didn't pay much attention to, and then there was um like a gold chain wrapped around the sword. Very intricate,
Yeah.
and I saw it very clearly. Whoops. And I heard someone say, "Are you General somebody who was sitting behind a desk?" And they had the military dress, military cap on and everything. And he said, and it was, I wrote it down. I looked up the name, but I couldn't find it. Are you General so and so? He was smiling really big, and he says yes to whoever asked him that. And that the man fell to his knees
Wow.
because he honored him so much. And then I woke up and I looked up. I felt like it was some kind of society, right? It had, like Masonic or Freemason or something, that
Mhm.
type of thing, or Rosicrucian. And I looked it up and I found it. I
Wow.
found it. Yes. And like I'd never seen anything like that. And I found it. And what it um, is the ancient order of United Workmen. And it was started after the Civil War. Okay. And
Wow.
here's I don't know if you can't see it. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
yeah, let me turn this off. Uh, but it was all gold. Still can't see it.
Mm-mm.
There,
Okay,
there.
now I can see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It
Wow.
looked just like that,
Isn't
just
it
like that.
validating when you find something like that? Like you've seen it and
Yes.
you look it up and you're like, that's what I saw.